Welcome back to the Nesman Hockey Podcast. James, are you as tired as I am today?
I am exhausted, brother. I am exhausted.
Yeah, if this episode just seems like we both have oatmeal brain and things just seem mush, that might be a little bit of the problem. On top of that, we may be a little distracted. We are in the middle of watching the Islanders Flyers game, and we start with about 17 minutes left in the
Yeah.
third period. We may spoil each other's depending on who's ahead here. I don't know how much time he has left. So we may spoil each other's goals or against or for. Um, so as we begin the episode, they're up 3-2. Although they just killed off a penalty at the beginning of the third period after Brock Nelson took what I believe was a holding penalty. I did not have um, the volume on, but before we get to that, because and we don't normally do this. We're recording quite late. We usually try to do it around 7 o'clock in the evening when the Islanders aren't playing.
Yeah.
But given the situation with the Islanders and how important this game was, um, we went against the grain a little bit. We did something we don't normally do, so hopefully we can make it through. It's definitely around my bedtime for sure. James, you're up all night. Um, so maybe this is fine for you.
Yeah.
Um, Huge 4-point game for the Islanders. The remainder of April will definitely require them to win a lot, if more than a majority of their games. But this game in particular kind of sets the stage. I've titled this already, "Islanders Last Stand." Um, I think I think the running joke on Islanders Twitter is if they win this game, they get to play however many more must-win games,
Yeah.
and this is truly the last one. If they don't win this game, they can pretty much kiss it goodbye unless they just win out because the Flyers get separation. The Red Wings, I believe, are still up in their game as well, so that doesn't help anybody. So this game has a lot of implications. So to even just stay in the race, this is very important. Um,
Well, the Red Wings are tied
oh, now they're tied.
with the Lightning. Weird day. Weird day on the out of town scoreboard. Pittsburgh is up 2-0 on the Rangers. Toronto beat Florida. That doesn't really matter though. But no, the Red Wings and the Lightning are tied in the third with most of the third left to go. There's only 15 seconds that have passed. So, um, interesting. But you're right. This is a huge 4-point game, if you will. There's certainly a lot at stake in this one. I mean, looking at the rest of the schedule for April, which I can't believe it's April, by the way. Um,
For real.
you know, they maybe at the end of the season their game against the Devils means something. Maybe the one against Pittsburgh means something. Um, but they have the Blackhawks who look, they should beat them. They have the Blue Jackets who they should beat. Tough task with the Predators, the Rangers twice. They should beat the Canadians, and then again another two games that they could and should win against the Devils and the Penguins. So it's certainly interesting, to see how this is going to shake out. But tonight is potentially the most crucial game on the schedule.
Yeah, and there I don't understand this. I'm not a math magician. The Isles Magic Number guy does all the hard work for us.
Yeah,
Um, but this, I think, it's a 4-point night. I don't know if 6-point night is a thing, but if Detroit also loses, it winds up swinging this quite a bit. Where I don't know about the number, the magic number, about whether they make the playoffs changes by that much, but it'll feel like it because they'll be able to really, really catch up in a race. They have a game or two in hand on the Flyers as it stands, so it's real. This game has, yeah, I don't think it could be overstated that it has a huge importance here. I tweeted from the NHP account. This is a good segue just into the rest of the episode here because we have a couple of games to cover before the end of the episode, which is going to be really the conclusion of this Islander Flyers game. Hopefully, we can time it right. Um, the Flyers, Blackhawks, Jackets. You had the Islanders taking the Hawks and Jackets, getting 2 points, followed by the Preds, Rangers, um, and Canadians. I had tweeted out the schedule and put how many points I thought they were gonna get in that span. I had them, 2 Hawks, 2 Jackets, none against the Predators, none against the Rangers. They have not proven to be able to skate with either of those teams. 2 against the Habs. Again, they play the Rangers, 0, and then I have them 1-1 with the Devils and Penguins. That doesn't feel like enough. That's 8 points.
Yeah.
So it's this game, puts them, if I'm 100% correct, that puts them at 10. The problem is they're not playing any big swing games. This is the last one. So this can make it so that they can prove me wrong and get 2 against the Devils and the Penguins, and all of a sudden that's 14 points. So if they win tonight, that's 12 or something like they can definitely make it interesting, but they need to steal points in pretty much every game. If this was ever a time for them to go on, what was that, November, December, they were just loser points. Like this, if there was ever a time for them to kind of bring that mentality, just scrape together any semblance of a point the rest of the way here and collect a regulation wins when you can, this is it. I don't know that there's really any other option for them moving forward.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting. Like they've only played the Rangers twice, so they have them two more times. They're all 1-1 against them this year, so it's like you know could go either which way. The next two games, they tend to play them well though, so that those two games could be the ones that put them over the hump, I guess, if you will, right? Because
If they can
again,
steal a point in at least one and get a regulation win in the other,
yeah,
or a win, really just a win just
the
at a certain
optimist in
point. It doesn't.
me the optimist in me says they get at least 1 point in each of those two games for 2 points. And coming down to the wire here, like you want to knock on wood, you don't want to say anything, but Flyers aren't going very well. Islanders are winning in the third period. It's another 2 points they could potentially have. So add those two to the 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 that you have, plus another two. And let's say that they steal a point in each of the Ranger games.
At a minimum.
That's talking about 12 points
Yeah, and then
out of 18.
if yeah, and they could do, um, actually win the games against the Devils and the Penguins, yeah, you're on a serious run there to go into the playoffs, and I think that builds some
Right.
confidence. I it We talked and we kind of keep bringing this up, is this a team, was it a mirage, that 6-game winning streak? And, in the scope of the season, even if they did this, it would be 2 anomalies, right? They've really just not proven they can play good hockey with any kind of consistency. But if there was ever a time to build that confidence, start fresh, I think that's what you were alluding to last week. Just get into the playoffs. It's a different team. You're going to be playing one team for a series. There's really not a lot of room for error. You can drop a game. You're not going to sweep everybody, but there's a little bit of room there. And yeah, I guess anything could happen. So yeah, we're approaching 10 minutes left in the third period. Islanders are still up 3-2. The second period was very lopsided in the Islanders' favor, but I do want to talk before we get too far and start just watching this Flyers game and commenting on it as we go. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10. Other than tonight, this is a team that has been unable to recognize the moment they're in, and they have not learned their lessons. And it's interesting when you look at the Panthers game and the Lightning game, where Varlamov started both of those. He's starting tonight as well, and he played really well. He had over a 920 in both games in save percentage. Um, Stood on his head and really kept the Islanders in what turned out to be a 4-1 loss to the Lightning. But it's been a lot of the same things. They win a really good game. I think the hockey term people would use is gutsy. It was definitely a little lopsided towards the end there. Florida really pouring it on, and the Islanders, it was a little bend don't break Barry Trotz kind of hockey there, and just held their ground. Um, so as imperfect as it was, they showed that they're a team that is capable of beating a really good team when it counts. Um, and they go play Tampa Bay, and I mean, it happened in the Florida game too. They just crumble under any kind of adversity. I think we've also talked about that. What did you see in those 2 games? And, is that indicative of the whole season? Is that just kind of how it's been going? Um, and, we can only burn so many tapes, but, after this Flyers game, I think they really just need to look forward.
Yeah. Listen, the game against Tampa was just classic. Like, hey, we're the Lightning. We're just gonna do this thing and and take it to you. You know, I think it was if I have this correct, just looking now. Yeah, Sorelli twice. He's an Islander killer, that guy. He doesn't score a lot, right? He's only got 18 goals, but this season he's got 18 goals. But let's say he has 100 in his career. I feel like 50 are against the Islanders. He scores against them a lot. You know, Stamkos scored his 30th goal of the year. Kucherov collected his 83rd and 84th assist on the season. It was just a classic, like, hey, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna do what we have to do. Oh, by the way, Vasilevsky's gonna, stop 0.964% of pucks. Like, it was a classic game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but against at least against a sputtering Predators team, that was a gut check win. You
Panthers.
know, sorry, Panthers, wrong mammal, um,
Wrong cat.
wrong cat. um, no, I mean that was a gut check win against what that they're a heavy team, and you could say the same thing about the Islanders. They're a heavy team too, but they have
They don't have
the
the
skill.
speed, they're not young, like, the Panthers are young and tough. They bring
Correct.
that factor, they have that edge, they have a Kachuk, so
Yep.
that's immediately just gonna give you that edge, and being younger and a little bit quicker and hungry, this is a team they're bound to break through. They have a Barkov, they have a goalie. I mean, they did, like I said, bound to break through. They did go to the Stanley Cup final. Um, so it's this has, like, lightning written all over it, or
Yeah. Yeah.
Colorado or St. Louis, where they were just perennially right there, and they just needed a season to just make it theirs. They needed somebody to slip up, and right now they're slipping up. They lost tonight against Toronto. They lost to the Islanders recently. I don't know what happened in between there, but the last week or so is looking. I'm not saying the wheels are coming off, but it's a little speed wobble there towards the end, and I guess
Yeah.
get it out of your system now before the playoffs start. They're comfortably making it, but yeah, I can't help but think though that I know, and I've been the one to say this, that this isn't the same team that lost to the Lightning 2 years in a row in the Eastern Conference Final, but there's enough of them there that when you see a game like that where they can't even skate with a team like that, and they haven't been themselves this year either, right? They've been in a second wild card spot. I think they were up in the top 3 in the division in the Atlantic for some time, but it's been a while. They were out of the playoff picture for a minute, kind of battling it out with those teams. Maybe the the team you least expected to kind of be there. You look at the teams kind of fighting for those wild card spots. That I wouldn't have considered the Lightning in that mix. But the Atlantic's really good. Toronto just somehow is Toronto. You have the Panthers and Boston, so that there's 4 really top 3 teams in that division. It's almost like 1 through 8 should exist, but because I think it's the same really up until this season, it was the same in the Metro. You really had 4 or 5 teams that were just better than the rest of the conference, and they were from the Metro, and weird how it kind of shakes out, but um, yeah, I think. my other question for you is, how do you feel about Varlamov kind of after our questions and concerns, me maybe more than you, about Sorokin? What was it like to kind of see Varlamov in the net for both of those games and play really well, and maybe build
Well,
some confidence here?
it didn't surprise me. It was one of those things where, like, Varlamov has always been really solid for the Islanders. He really has been. And, you know, Sorokin was just so dominant elite before, this season that, the Islanders didn't really have a choice but to give him the reins. And but to see him come in, the veteran that he is, and to do what he's done in his career is not surprising to see him do what he's doing now. So, they signed him and probably paid him a little more than they wanted to, because he knew he probably could have got more somewhere else. Now, granted, he probably liked it on Long Island. He wanted to stay, but he probably also wanted to stay for the right number, and that was, what he got. They were
It's also a
talking
good
about
situation for him.
a perfect
Like
situation, and
Sorokin, he's been there.
yeah,
It's it's yeah, the whole the area is good and this and that. You don't want to move your that late in your career.
but
Makes a lot
make
of
no
sense.
mistake, he could have gotten the same amount or more and have been a starter somewhere else. So to see him come in and do what he's doing is not a surprise, and the decision to start him more than Sorokin is the right one. The fact of the matter is that Sorokin's not himself right now,
Was
and
it too
that's
late
okay.
of a decision? Like, did they wait too
Maybe,
long to make the
maybe.
switch? Just as a even if as a jolt to the team.
Yeah, and again, we could look back in a week and say they snuck in, good for them, and they're doing it on the back of Varlamov, which is great. But you probably, in hindsight right now, can say they probably should have pulled that trigger sooner, just because they're in a situation right now where I didn't believe it when I was looking, scrolling through Twitter. I saw a graphic where, I've been writing all year about how bad Vitek Vanacek has been with his negative 11 point something goal save above expected. Sorokin's right next to him. He's got like negative 9 or 10. I was shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't realize it was this bad. Doesn't change how I feel. I still think he's going to be fine. And, in turn, so will the Islanders goaltending situation. But I just, you know, it surprised me. And, so seeing Varlamov in net, seeing what he's doing, I mean, his goal save above expected, the difference between his and Sorokin's negative, I think it's 9 or 10, is like 8 saves, which is, one a game above expected. That's eight. It's potentially 8 points he's still, or 14 points he's stealing, right? If it's just one save that changes the game. Talking about a lot of points that Varlamov has put on his back. So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
potentially too late, but again, we'll see. I
even if
mean,
the Islanders were in a slightly better position, I think I'd made the comment that, Varlamov, and this is before last season. So if Sorokin was gonna play 60, 63 games or something like that, Varlamov, and this was when coming off of Varlamov's really bad season. You remember he was like 9, 10, or like the numbers, it was 9, 17, and
yeah, and you
2,
were
or like
saying just
something.
flip him.
Yeah, if you just flip the record, the Islanders are in a better spot. And then I can't remember what last season really looked like for him, but for this season, it feels like if they had just played him more in the right spots and given Sorokin a break, 60 games is a lot for a goalie. And I think, and that's where like some goalie management, there was definitely some failure there this season. If you're and that's like looking at the analytics, and it's not even deep. We're getting outshot every single game, and their high danger chances are just so, there are so many of them. And he's struggling with it, right? So it's not that he's doing
Yeah,
maybe bad with that, but just by percentage, it's just getting shellacked every single game. Yeah, you're gonna that's difficult to manage. You almost have to be like, okay, we're gonna wind up playing him 10, 12, 15 games less this season because it's 30 games in. He's started 20 or 25 of them, and it's almost like he's gotten 40 starts or he's played every single game. So that's where almost you're talking about months ago, they should have been managing these starts better. And now, down the run, you kind of want him to build some confidence. You don't, but you want to get in. So you have to be able to ride the hot hand and then continue, right? So my 2 cents. Obviously, they play the Blackhawks tomorrow. You imagine Sorokin at least gets that start. That's a good confidence game for him. I say when they play the Jackets, go back in, go with Varlamov. You have to get the points. You have to find a way to kind of do that. And I don't know about Varlamov against the Rangers in either of those games, but it wouldn't hurt. He's played really well against them in years past. It's worth a shot. But there's a certain point where you have to find the moments to get Sorokin's confidence up, not just against bad teams, because the Islanders have shown their power play knows no bounds. It
Mm.
doesn't really matter who the opponent is. They're not scared of losing to a really bad team, and they're not afraid of just beating the pants off a good team or just beating a good team like the Panthers or something. So you have to just go with who do you think is actually going to win the game and worry about the rest later. Because if there is no tomorrow, it's irrelevant. If you went with Sorokin because you
Yeah.
think that's the right thing, and you lose a good game and you miss by a point or two, for what? So just going with the goalie and making the switches at the right time. And I know Patrick Waugh doesn't want to mess with the goalies and lets the coach kind of do their thing. I don't know. There's definitely got to be some expertise there that he can help out with. And that may have been what just happened. And just be like, okay, this guy needs a rest. Sorokin needs a rest. Varlamov's going to be our guy for a little bit. Let this kid get his confidence, get his swagger back, with the memories of all these losses and really just r- resting from all these saves that he's making, and he'll come back and he'll be fine. For a while, they just weren't really giving him that opportunity. Um, so I think that's a good choice by the coaching staff. Um, some less, I don't want to say less good, lower quality decisions by the coaching staff. The lines keep going through a blender. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you even what they are if I didn't write them down ahead of this game against the Flyers. They've changed over the last two games as well. Um, for part of this game, or at least when it was written down to begin with, Barzal was with Sezikis and Fashing,
Yep.
and Pajot was with Lee and Horvat. And I believe
Yep.
that is not the line I'm looking at right now in this in this game as it ends. As the Islanders are just playing the ice the puck game as the clock hits for me 3:35. I don't know if that's where you are. I might be a little behind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I am.
Um, so under Wah, um, the offense isn't necessarily getting better. The underlying numbers are not in his favor. The defense has seen an improvement. Do you think there's a part of rearranging the deck chairs, and we've said that about the Islanders and just dealing with what Wah actually has to work with. But is there anything to trying to do too much here? And like you had to stick with something at some point to just I don't know, you're finishing the season. You need as many points out of the next 18, including tonight, as possible. Is it really still the time? Like, if you haven't figured it out, and he's been here a minute now, if you haven't figured it out, like, go with what works and something. Splitting up Barzell and Horvat seems crazy to me, even with Lee.
Yeah. I think eventually that's got to go back to, you know, they got to go back to that pair. What I'm looking at, if it stays this way, the only thing I could think of is he's trying to get more out of his lesser players. So maybe in his mind he thinks pairing, Peugeot with Horvat brings Peugeot up. Pairing Nelson with Palmieri and Engvall Again, they've had chemistry before. Maybe Nelson brings Engvall up. Barzell brings up Cizikas and Fashing, right? Maybe that's what he's trying to do is get more out of his lesser players
And
and
Nelson's
pairing
been
them.
cold though. So like it's really hard to there's only so
Yeah,
much you can really mess with here.
yeah. No, it's true. So it's really hard to say. I mean, this is again, if you and I looked at this team on paper at the beginning of the season, we'd be like, "What the fuck are we doing? Like, what is this?" It's concerning, but when you rearrange the deck chairs to make them look prettier, it doesn't look as bad. You know what I mean? Um, and that's
They
simply
have
by just flipping Pacho and Barzell, and suddenly you're cooking with something a little bit.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. Take the action on any of the NHL's upcoming games, including Lightning Panthers, Rangers Islanders, or Avalanche Oilers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 186 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League.
Fedotov, who, by the way, I think this was his debut
It
on the
was
season.
enormous 6'7" goalie, or
Six
however
eight,
tall he is. 6'8".
6'8", yeah.
Sorry.
I think he's on the bench right now. Clock's running down. The Islanders are 2 minutes away from 2 points, a huge 2 points.
If you spoke too soon and we're gonna watch this get reversed in real time, I'm gonna be very
Yeah.
upset. Because then I have to edit it later. I'm gonna watch this all over again, and I'm gonna be really upset that I have to live this twice.
Well, I didn't say they got them. I just said they were 2 minutes away from, and out of town. Tampa Bay and Detroit are knotted at 2. They scored with like I think 30 seconds from each other before. No, sorry, 2 minutes from each other before. So they're 2-2. But yeah, I mean, this is uh this is definitely like, again, all well and good right now if you know this line shuffling works for the regular season, but I don't know, man. Going into the playoffs like that is
That was my next
red
point.
flags everywhere for me.
Yeah, game one of the playoffs, should the Islanders by some miracle make it, has to be Horvat, Barzell. Like
Yeah, I think so.
you have to do that. It can't. That's when everyone else has to step up. You have a McLean that can play on your fourth line. I think you can. I think at that point, you have to believe Lamoureux, with the constraints of a salary cap and roster limits kind of removed. You do bring up like Gauthier and someone else, and you rearrange that fourth line where at least you're not playing them every single game or something like that. Um, I can't believe the Islanders can't just hit an open net. You've got like they have 2 all season. Gee, if there was ever a moment to just do it in a game that just mattered more than most of them did. Just this line has been out there for seemingly forever. Just hit the net. Um, yeah, I think you have a little bit more room, so you can kind of push players around in the lineup where you need them to go. But in the regular season, Lamoureux just doesn't have the room. Like you can't. There's no one to call up. There's no taxi squad. So you're dealing with really with what you have and crossing your fingers you can make it to the playoffs. And even with the win tonight, I'm not 100% confident that they can do it, but it's and again, understatement. Palmieri might do it. No, of course he didn't. Um um yeah, there's just a lot of good hockey left, and you don't want them to play the Predators and Rangers back, in not back to back days, but in back to back games, and just lose your momentum. Like they could win tonight, Blackhawks and Blue Jackets, and feel good, and maybe be within a point of a playoff spot, and then just not get any points for 4 days, and lose to good teams, and you really don't have time left. So it's obviously complicated, and we just have to run out the clock. Um, if this is the team, the team that played the Panthers and the team that played in the second period and that is holding off the Flyers, a Flyers team that's struggling lately here in the playoffs, it's definitely possible, depending on who they play, where it could at least be interesting. I don't, however, think I'm going to love that first round series, no matter who they play. It's going to be, I don't
No.
want to say a nail biter, but it's just going to be, I'm already reserved to them being, losing in the first round like last year against the Carolina Hurricanes. We've just seen what this group by and large isn't capable of. So it's been difficult to imagine a path forward for the Islanders in the playoffs. And judging by your reactions, I think we should turn our attention now to like a little bit of play by play in the last minute
No.
of this Flyers game. Varlamov just with big save from Konechny had a nice shot from the point. Uh, Barley saw it all the way. That was no, as a Butch Goringism, no mistake, but by Varlamov. Um, the Islanders these faceoffs, they're just not getting control. They're managing to continue to ice the puck, but they need to be able to get control of those draws, and they continue to ice it.
Yeah.
They can't get a good uh, centerman out there, although Peugeot is there. I'd be surprised there weren't two centermen out there at all times. That pretty much every line has that. So that's yeah, Fashing Lee and Peugeot, which is definitely a choice. It doesn't seem like it's on purpose, given perhaps it is given what was going on tonight and continued line shuffling in the game. But did I miss something? I'm behind. Oh my god! All right, now I'm gonna watch it. You'll get my reaction. Can't wait to edit this later. Under a minute too. This team.
Yeah.
You could just see that coming, I guess. Again, they can't get control of the puck off the faceoff, and oh my god, Peugeot could have cleared it. Doesn't do it. And just a fumble right in front of the net. Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. I thought this would already happened. I thought they got scored on. Or am I that far behind you? This
I guess so.
oh, they're gonna go right down to the wire, right? Yep. 10 seconds left. Flyers tied up to the surprise of no one. And unless the Islanders can score, this game becomes meaningless because they just
Yeah.
gave up. They're gonna give a point away. And yeah, the game is meaning. Wow, you were a whole minute and a half ahead of me
I
there.
don't know how that happened. We were pretty even before.
Yeah, we were the same. I always it's very funny how that happens. Like we have our games live at the same time. It's like, what are the seconds going by slower for me? Like they were just it was just delayed. I was at a minute and a half, a second and a
Your
half for
seconds
every
are in dog
second.
years.
Yeah, I was watching in dog years. That's probably right. I'm on a VPN, but I don't that doesn't shouldn't slow it down. Like
No,
it's
it
the same
shouldn't.
speed of play. Yeah, this game became meaningless. It's over. Big
Unbelievable.
swing game that they've just kind of are
With
they
9.6 seconds left.
I think there was a lot of conversation and it's funny. So I think they're arguing right now against I don't know, you're ahead of me, so maybe they just called it a good goal already. What I'm watching is them arguing that it might not be a good goal, and it may have went off a skate or he kicked it. I mean, he kicked it to himself. That's a good goal. The hell are they arguing? Yeah, kick it to his own stick. That was actually a really good play and tight. The fact that he was able to do that is a testament not only to his skill but to the honors and competence in front. I don't know how you do that. They had 3 minutes with an open net. Almost 3 full minutes. Maybe it was more. Maybe it was like 3.5 minutes. I can't remember when I looked up and I saw it. That's embarrassing.
10 icings.
Yeah, and this is a game that the Islanders kicked their ass in the second period.
I don't understand how Barzell's not out there just skating the puck out of the offensive zone.
That's what I'm saying. Like between Barzell, Nelson, and Horvat, if there was ever a time to just have 3 centers on the ice, right?
I
Like,
just
and then you just am I crazy? That seems like a pretty obvious thing, even though Barzell's the least skilled of the, on the draw of the 3 of them, at least.
no, you go have Cizikas take the face off, have have Barzell on his strong side,
And Horvat.
receive the to receive the face off win, and yeah, Horvat on the other side, and you should be fine. But what do I
Yeah,
know? I couldn't care
Fashing,
less.
Lee,
Okay.
and Fashing, Lee, and Peugeot. I understand the icings happen, but the last I looked, it was the Nelson line. So a change happened. There was a line change took place at some point. How? Yeah, and they have the
Well,
bodies in front. Leah's it just on the side of the
here's the
net.
problem. I mean, the the whole period happened, and it remained the same score. You know, to Varlamov's credit, he held off the Flyers. They outshot the Islanders 19-3.
Yeah, the Islanders they couldn't
That'll
take it
do
to
it.
a rookie goalie in the second period despite all those shots. So they chased the starter in the first period, and then they just can't, again, a rookie goalie or just some player that doesn't matter. God damn it. What's the score of the Tampa game?
I believe, yeah, still tied at 2.
End of the third or near the end of the third?
2:40 in the third.
Yeah, so I suppose we're gonna watch at least to the end of this overtime here and continue to talk through this. So, you'll as a listener, you'll already know the score of everything, and how what the magic numbers were. I believe
And
right
it's
before
3-2
we did.
Detroit.
Well, that was quick. Okay, it really just fell apart, man. It really
It's
just fell
over.
apart.
It's the Vince
I don't know.
Carter, "It's over" meme.
Do you th- do you think the Islanders used up all of their hockey karma getting Patrick Waugh? And then it was it. Like, they just had they didn't really have any of this season to begin with, and they
The
just
Islanders
cashed
win.
in. What's up?
Islanders win.
Did they? I'm so behind. What?
Yeah, sorry.
How did it?
Spoiler alert.
Alright, well, I know I get to watch this after I already know what happens. That's meaningless, though.
They're
If it was
4
any
points
team but
out.
the Flyers, it matters, but, like, the fact that it was the Flyers and Detroit's winning makes this.
The 4-point game became a 3-point game. It could have been worse. The math still doesn't math, but God, you really wanted that one in regulation. Like, what was it if they won? It was like a 17-point swing. All right, so if the Islanders won in overtime, their odds to go to the playoffs increased by 4.2% rather than 9.6%. So they're at a 15.4% chance of the playoffs now with the OT
So,
win.
magic numbers scenario, it would've been a full 4-point night if.
So now here's the interesting thing. The Flyers lose in regulation. Oh no, sorry, lost in overtime. they're down to 68.1% to make the playoffs. If they would have lost in regulation, they would have dropped 16.8% down to 55.4 chance to make the playoffs. So that's how huge that regulation win would have been, and they super didn't do it.
Yeah, there was 2 teams that this was, the Penguins and Islanders last season. Just neither team seemingly wanted to make the playoffs, and they were just gonna fumble their way to the end zone and just see who messed up worse, and it turned out to be the Penguins.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. It so now the Islanders are at 79 points. They still have a game they have 2 games in hand on Philly. I think the question here is, well, Detroit and the Islanders both can't make it. So they really just and they do have a game in hand on Detroit, but they're 3 points back. So there's a scenario in which the Islanders miss the playoffs by 1 point.
Yep.
That's the big not only did they just, screw up the Philly thing, but then yep, Detroit's now up 4-2. Tampa's net is empty. Amazing what that does for your team. Um, hitting an empty net. And Pittsburgh beat the Rangers 5-2. So that's something. It doesn't have a whole lot of standing considering where the Penguins are, but um, yeah, that sucks. Wow, what if just fall from grace 2 years in a row? Incredible.
The Red Wings
Um,
are about to win too.
yeah,
30 seconds. They're 4-2.
yeah, that's what I just mentioned. So yeah, it's somehow an Islander win, a very disappointing night. I think 2 points are important. The number moves by 2, but you from here on out, it's all scoreboard watching. And
Yeah.
even tonight was largely scoreboard watching. It was just as much about an Islander win as much as it was a Detroit loss. And I don't know what the Detroit schedule looks like the rest of the way. They could just fumble the bag. It's possible. They haven't been great lately. Um, but either have the Islanders. And again, between the Flyers, Detroit, and the Islanders, it's going to be a competition of who wants it less. And I don't know. They're all right they seem all right in the same spot. Each day is a different team just kind of fumbling over themselves. Um any any now that we have the conclusion there, any closing thoughts or um I think we know what the issues are moving forward here.
Yeah. Um, all right. So 79 points. They are now back, 4 on the Flyers. It's not impossible. Um,
Detroit has to lose like a few games here.
Detroit does need to lose. They're going to win now. So they're going to be okay. So I say that they're actually going to be 4 points back of Detroit because that's who they're chasing at this point. I think
Yeah, they'll
the
hop the
no,
Flyers.
no, no, I'm lying. They don't hop the Flyers. The Flyers have 83 points. So
Oh, right, because they
um
got one tonight.
yeah, so the Flyers remain in the second wild card. But Detroit has a game in hand. So we'll see how that plays out the rest of the way. The 2 teams that they're really in reality chasing are Red Wings and the Flyers. So they need the Flyers to continue losing games. They need the Red Wings to go back to losing games.
Yeah, they
And the
play the
Islanders,
Rangers next, then the
yes, they play the
Sabres,
Rangers.
Capitals,
Yeah.
Penguins, Maple Leafs, Canadians.
Yeah,
Those last 2 games were not good.
they have a winnable schedule, the Islanders. Um,
Yeah,
it's just
it'll
a
be
matter
just as
of
much as, the Capitals again, that's a team that's a lose-lose game. You just need someone to win in regulation,
yeah.
preferably at this point, the Capitals. You need some help from the Rangers this Friday. The Sabres have been good lately, so or, not as bad. So that's a possible game that the Red Wings can drop. Um, Penguins beat up on the Rangers tonight. Not impossible for them to lose that game too. And then they play the Maple Leafs, and then the Canadians. 2 games they have a back to back to end the season against the Habs. That's not great for the Islanders. They play the Devils and the Penguins, which are their own brand of bad, but that's that's gonna be tough to watch from afar. Those are 2 kind of easy games for the Red Wings, if there ever was one, back to back to end the season. Um, but they're pretty stacked. They play every 2 days after this Friday, so this last little break is the last one if they're going to make the playoffs. So
Yeah.
from there, both teams really have it coming with their schedule. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, I'm not sure.
So
We
with Nelson's goal, both him and Horvat become the first 30 goal duo on the Islanders since. Do you know?
Tavares and Molson
Close. Little
about
little after Molson.
after Molson. Um, Parento? No, that's before. Um,
Still on the team.
Still on the team. Oh, Lee and Tavares.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was Lee's 40-goal season, I'm sure.
He hit, yeah, 40. That was 2017-18.
Yikes. God damn, Lee had 40 goals that season, right
Yes,
before
he did.
Tavares left.
Yes, he did. Something, huh?
Yeah, and he's still all these years later. Yeah, 20-goal scorer this season, Lee. Right, he got his 20th tonight or 19th tonight.
19, yeah.
Um, Palmier's got over 20. Barzell's in the 20s, if not really close to 30.
23.
Um,
He's got 52 assists too. I mean, he's having a good offensive year.
yeah, it's his best since his rookie season.
Yeah, for sure.
It sucks that it just comes at, someone's got to score goals, and it's really bad. Like the offense is really bad despite 230-goal scorers, a bunch of 20-goal scorers, etc. But and the season that Dobson's having too. And this is with absolutely no fucking help from any other D.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not like
terrible.
Mike Riley. And that's just
Riley's their next best defenseman in terms of points with 5 goals, 19 points. So it's
that's embarrassing.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, Pellick and Pulak have not been good on D, and then just have simply not contributed.
yeah.
Um, Expected goals because of a good opportunity and the shot when you're hitting the guy in the chest or you're missing it wide just is like doesn't matter. Um, Expected by whom is the question at that point. Um,
Yeah,
all right. I was tired at the beginning of the night. Now we're like going through and trying to do math live here, and that's not my strong suit. So I'm really getting cooked here. What anything else to close it out?
no, that's it, man. Just win out here as much as you can.
Yeah, we by next week we may know the full Islanders' fate. I think that there'll be enough games where if they keep winning, they're in it. And yeah, if they drop 2 in a row here, it pretty much spells the end. So this was I had it titled Islanders Last Stand, but I don't know. I feel like they they stood but barely. Um, they lost a limb for sure. So
Yeah,
I don't know
next
where.
week's episode is going to be Islanders' last limp.
Yeah, limping, so, whatever, into obscurity, hopefully. Um, God, I like doing this and this, but there's usually a point in the season where I just get tired.
Yeah,
That came 40 games ago though. And it's not typically January. That it's usually around now. I feel that beer league too. Like I don't really want to play hockey in the end of March and April anymore. I think I need a break for a little bit. Um, but this has just been exhausting because it's been so much of the same conversation. It's been there's been exciting moments, and you're bringing in Patrick Waugh, and you go on the winning streak, and the start to the year was good. They had the I don't like how they got there, but they were in top 3 in the division for a minute and for a while, actually. So it's just an emotionally draining season that we don't typically take too long of a break, but boy, am I kinda want them to miss the playoffs just to get a break, 'cause it's
Yeah.
to extend it, and then again, they're not I don't think they're making it out of the first round anyway, and it's gonna be more of the same with just bigger implications and more at stake, and as somebody asked on Twitter, "To what end?" And I can't think of an answer. I can't frankly can't disagree with it. So, if they're gonna play well the rest of the way and give us some actual hope in the playoffs, that'll re-energize me, but another 3rd period blown lead, which brings it to, like, it feels like half of their games. Um, it's, um it's just been a season, and I don't like knowing what happened right before it happened, by your reaction, so that'll stick with me the rest of the night. Thank you for that. All right, please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and Aspen Hockey. Mainly Twitter. I keep saying that. You can find James working New Jersey Hockey Now. Um, I don't know. How do you end this, James? How are you going to bring us home this time?
Until next time, collect those points.